It's no secret that originality is a huge factor for me when it comes to playing games on Roblox. I have become infamously picky about it in my Twitch chat and between my colleague Roblox streamers about how particular I am with games I choose to play. But to me, originality is one of the greatest merits Roblox games have. It allows young game devs to create new ideas without massive budgets or giving them a platform to easily share their new ideas. To me, there is absolutely no point in playing a video game on Roblox that I can just as easily play somewhere else, especially if the Roblox game in question is trying to be a direct remake of a game that already exists. This is part of the reason why I typically hate FNAF Roblox games. Because why would I play a FNAF game on Roblox when I own every single FNAF game, except the VR one, in my own Steam library and can just play the real game myself? After all, when comparing a game to a Roblox remake of it, the original will always be of higher graphical quality, smoother gameplay, and less public embarrassment. This was the mindset that was at the forefront of my mind when I played Forgotten Memories, a Roblox FNAF fan game on Roblox. If I am being fully honest, I was ready to rip this game apart when I heard about it and decided to review it. But then I started to play it and, well, I'll just let the rest of the review do the talking. Welcome to Forgotten Memories, Roblox's greatest FNAF game. Hey, follow my Twitch? Play these games with me on Wednesdays? Upload on Sundays? We good? We good. Let's begin. As the title card said, I now believe that Forgotten Memories is Roblox's greatest FNAF game, and that's a big claim to make. We'll go over why in the individual categories, but in broad terms, I think Forgotten Memories is so great because of its originality and high level of polish. But let's get down to some not so broad terms, shall we? My categories, as always, are aesthetic, story, gameplay, and overall. Without further delay, let's begin. Oh, and also spoiler alert for the ending. Aesthetic. I love this game's aesthetic so much. Oh my god, it's so freaking good. You guys have literally no idea. And what makes it so good is that it's highly attributed to the game's graphic quality. This game is beefy. It won't run if you're using your mom's laptop to play Roblox or something, but dang is the beef worth it. This game looks absolutely beautiful in the sense that it looks absolutely disgusting and grimy and like the environment will come alive and eat me. But it's a horror game, so that's a good thing. Another thing I have to mention are the cutscenes. This game has beautifully done cutscenes from the moment you load into the first night all the way to the end of night 5. I am genuinely impressed by these cutscenes, which also play before the beginning of each night. There's also voice acting, and it's actually really good, even if the character themselves are laughably dislikable on purpose. I always love to hear voice acting in Roblox games, and even better for this game is that there's a lot of it. Not only is there the opening and ending cutscene, the characters talk throughout the entire game in short voice lines whenever a night starts or whenever you die and respawn. It's actually super cool to hear the thoughts of your characters, and adds so much more to the atmosphere of this game. Oh, also, did I mention there's an entire phone guy with 5 nights of dialogues that are fully voiced? It's amazing, and in a nice example of this game's range, I highly encourage you guys to actually listen to the phone guy's conversations with you. I know a lot of people skip them, but seriously, give them a listen. They're genuinely hilarious. It adds a smidge of comedy into this game, which is really cool, gives the players a break, and also shows off the range of the devs making this so they can just casually drop in comedy without it being forced. The aesthetic also carries over to the environment. It's beautifully designed, and there's a lot of ambient stuff like groaning animatronics and the eyes of masks lighting up randomly that really add to the ambient spookiness of these nights. Hearing a random light flicker or a pipe burst can genuinely scare you sometimes. And the only thing about this game's aesthetic that I genuinely disliked was the random jump scares that can sometimes happen in the custom nights and nightmare mode nights. I think they're supposed to be because Nightmare Custom Night is probably a canonical death limbo between life and death, and the Nightmare Nights are nightmares, I guess? Maybe? I don't know. Anyway, these jump scares got me, like, the first time it happened. Since all the doors are locked, but it's just so random and annoying afterwards that I actually just laughed at one of them when it happened. What the heck? Also, they don't make a lot of sense. Like, if they were at least FNAF related, it would be fine, but what the hell was that? This isn't doors, it's FNAF. Give me an It's Me jump scare like there were in the original game, or something like the Phantoms from FNAF 3. It's a minor complaint, but it kind of tore me out of the immersion a little bit when playing through the Nightmare Nights. Aside from that, this game's aesthetic is insane because of the immense polish that went into making the cutscenes and environment look as good as it possibly could, and this game is very much pushing the boundaries of what Roblox can be in the best of ways. Story. The story of this game is very interesting, but I also found it to be kind of a letdown. The game starts with an advertisement for Tony's Tacos, an establishment that took over the old Freddy's location looking for new security guards. Todd, trying to make money for a new whip, drags his 3 friends, Amber, Jay, and Travis, with him to the establishment. Things go bad, the 4 of them sign non-disclosure agreements, which is hilarious, and they're guided by the phone guy. Night 5, phone guy dies and tells the 4 of them to not trust Tony, but when the night ends, we see the 4 characters trying to escape the establishment through the front door, only to find it not able to open. Freddy then appears, and this ending cutscene is genuinely one of the greatest cutscenes I've ever seen in a Roblox game. We see the classic Freddy stand there with his eyes glowing and a song playing, "Hor, hor, 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 hor." But when the song ends, we see just a split second of Freddy beginning to sprint at the characters before the screen cuts to black and we hear terrifying sounds of slaughter. Now, I did just talk up the cutscene a lot, but I actually found this ending really disappointing. We're meant to assume that all 4 of our characters died at the hands of Freddy here, but why would they try to escape before the night was over? We played as these 4 for all 4 of the previous nights where they successfully avoided dying until 6 AM, where they were released. Are you telling me that randomly on night 5 they decided to try a risky escape before 6 AM? I just don't buy that. It's not a believable character action for any of them to take at this point in the game, to be perfectly honest. The dialogue when this night begins suggests that they're only just now realizing that the animatronics are alive with souls, and maybe that's why they're trying to escape, but it just doesn't make sense to me. Also, am I the only one who's kinda disappointed that we die at the end? I don't know if it's just me, but after everything we go through in this game, I did want to see our characters win in the end. After all, the entire draw of FNAF games is to survive the night, and this ending feels more like a bad ending than a proper end to the game. Also, there's the question of why are we supposed to not trust Tony? Did he lock the door on us and that's why we can't escape the building at the end? What does Tony and his tacos have to do with all this? There's so many questions to be answered in a potential sequel, but I think a sequel wouldn't work as well without using these original characters that we play as here. Like, yeah, it could probably work, but I think potential sequels following a single group of friends is a much more compelling story. We could see the development in these characters. If the devs of this game, by some miracle, watch this and want to consider a sequel someday for this game, here's what I think you guys could do to make this ending work pretty well when considering a sequel. Have the opening cutscene for the sequel take place right where this ending cutscene ends off, with Freddy rushing towards them, but show us what actually happens. I don't think Freddy should kill all of them. After all, there's 1 of him and 4 of them. I think that Jay, Travis, and Amber should get away, and that Freddy should rush towards Todd. After all, Todd is a jerk, and he dragged his best friends here when they didn't want to do this, and refused to leave when things got bad. He deserves some form of recompense in my mind, and I'll leave it up to the potential devs to decide if that means an injury or having Freddy straight up killing Todd here. I think either could work, as an injury, like maiming an arm or something, would still be recompense for Travis, but also give him an opportunity at a character redemption arc. On the other hand, killing him would allow a new character to step into his place, maybe Tony or the phone guy. Either way, I think the one to rescue us in this situation should be Tony, although not with the best of intentions. He'll rescue the survivors, only to then direct them into another horrible situation that the sequel would take place in, like an underground facility or a second location. Once again, this is just my opinion on where the story should go from here, and if you've got ideas, put them in the comments. I'm interested. Gameplay. The gameplay of this game is fantastic when you learn it. I'm gonna go over the negatives of the gameplay first because it's small but important. This game is hard to learn at first. Learning the map and learning what all the locations do and what you need to do to survive can be difficult, especially if you're by yourself just trying to learn from what the phone guy says. Also, on that topic, I genuinely believe that this game is immensely difficult as a solo player. I would not recommend playing this solo to anybody, and that this game should have a minimum of 2 people to make everything manageable. If you're without anyone to play with, like me if I didn't have chat, that's kinda a daunting prospect. Thankfully, the game offers lobbies with randoms for you to queue up with, even if it's really annoying if they leave mid-game. However, once you learn this game, and it's not that hard to be fair, this game's gameplay is satisfying. It's genuinely scary to make it to point A to point B, and the scares of the animatronic noticing you is really effective. Also, this game takes a lot of team coordination, which is something I can appreciate, but is not optimal for solo players. In an ideal situation, there's 1 player at the 2 generators that need to be occasionally restarted, 1 player at oxygen that also needs to be occasionally restarted, 1 player at the TV screen to communicate which gen to restart or when O2 needs to be restarted, whose job it is to also work the doors if an animatronic comes knocking, and 1 player to wind the music box in the back of the room, who can also help with the TV and the doors when not doing stuff with the puppet. There's a lot of communication between the people in the office and the people in the other rooms, which is actually really cool to see. It's not every day you see a horror game on Roblox that requires teamwork, but this is definitely one of them, and the game rewards you for it, with the first 5 nights on normal being very manageable if you work together and a big nightmare if you don't. However, you know how I just listed the locations that everyone should be at? I have one problem with this gameplay. Once you get to the location you're assigned to by your teammates, you never leave. Once you get from the office to Jen's or O2, you literally just stay there the rest of the game. There's a reason that the gameplay in the back of this video has so many cuts. It's because I had to cut a lot of the gameplay out. Why? Because it's literally just me standing in the arcade waiting for my teammate to tell me to restart O2. And if you're one of the 2 players that stay in the office, you never even get to move anywhere. Although you do have to deal with Foxy, which is a terrifying prospect in and of itself. Also, there are 2 gens to move back and forth from, so that's good, and Chica being there makes that more difficult. But there are 2 players on a 4-player team, the one on the puppet and the one on O2, that basically just stand there in one place and press E the entire game. Sure, that's a bit more of a flaw with the players rather than the game, but this game's optimal strategy is based around this, so it isn't fully a player issue. There's not too good of a fix for this. I just kind of wish these 2 players had a little bit more to do. Like, maybe have 2 O2 switches instead of just 1, and have them be in each bathroom so you have to travel between them, and maybe have a little mini game to seal away the puppet so that one doing that isn't just immensely bored. I don't know. But all in all, the gameplay is really good. I just had a few really specific nitpicks. Ending this segment on a good note, I like how this game scales difficulty. Night 1 is just Freddy, Puppet, and Golden Freddy, which sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. Night 1 is a great time for players to learn the map layout and all the roles he has to know how to do. And as each night goes on, they add 1 new animatronic to make things just a little bit harder. And I like how the animatronic that gets added fits the new role that the player is likely learning about. In Night 1, getting to the gens is really easy, so they add Bonnie in Night 2, who is right in the way of them. In Night 2, anyone in the office can just hide in the back to avoid animatronics while still getting the puppet done, so they add Foxy in Night 3 to run into the office and hunt you down. In Night 3, gens are really easy because the player has learned how to take a route to avoid Bonnie, so they add Chica in Night 4 directly into the gen area to make it difficult. And once all of that is said and done, the player gets to Night 5, which is when the player is now fully familiar with every element of the game and has one final night to get their performance and teamwork down to an art form. Also, I'm not entirely sure if they crank Golden Freddy's difficulty up for Night 5, but he's everywhere on the screen before the night starts, giving the player a sense of finality. It's a great difficulty scaling system. Really good design from the devs with how each animatronic adds something to the gameplay. Overall, I've said that Forgotten Memories was the best Roblox FNAF game because of the polish and originality. You've heard me talk about all the polish and the original elements, but I haven't quite emphasized just how much of the originality of this game goes to make this game feel like a full experience. Honestly, they could have rebranded this game as a unique property and it would have worked, but I'm actually glad they didn't. Even though I'm infamously hard on remakes of pre-existing games, I actually think Forgotten Memories works better as a FNAF fan game than it would as its own perspective property, because of how good the game actually is. This game feels like it's paying respect to the original FNAF game the entire way through, while still finding its own identity, which is a huge undertaking. I mean, this is FNAF, the game series where you sit in one room the entire game. But Forgotten Memories forces the player to leave the office and brave the dangers of the pizzeria, and that element makes the gameplay of this game feel very unique. Also, a FNAF multiplayer game is something I did not know I needed until now, and Forgotten Memories did it almost perfectly. This game perfectly balanced originality and respect to the original, all while being an amazing experience to play through and scaring the pants off of me while I did. I rank games on a 1 out of 10 scale, with a 1 being stay away, 5 being neutral, and 10 being perfect. Forgotten Nights is a game that does nearly everything right. My only complaints about this game is really stuff that isn't important to the game as a whole, like a disappointing story and slight nitpicks in the learning curve and small aesthetic choices. But this game makes up for it from its amazing graphical quality and excellent gameplay. With all this in mind, I rate Forgotten Memories an 8.5 out of 10. That's right, I got those 0.5 points in there, baby! I've been Mr. Mice, and thank you all so much for watching.